The recruitment for Dortmund seems to be fantastic, doesn't it? We know about Sancho, we know about Haaland, Bellingham, I've just mentioned. Let's get more, shall we, on Borussia Dortmund's recruitment and whether Premier League sides should be copying their systems now with German football expert Rafa Honigstein joins us. Hello, Rafa. Good evening to you.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
We're good. Thanks so much for coming on. Before we talk about their recruitment, the players have had, just a quick word about how tough or maybe not this could be for Man City tonight.
I think it'd be pretty tough. Dortmund have done well against City. They did okay at the Etihad. They did okay when they met a couple of years ago in both games. So I think with City perhaps being a little bit off the game, knowing that they're all but qualified, of course, for first spot, I think it might be a chance for Dortmund to maybe surprise them a little bit, cause them problems. And I wouldn't be that surprised if we saw maybe a sneaky Dortmund win tonight.
I mean, who's been playing well for Dortmund this season? Of course, the obvious we obviously know is Jude Bellingham, but who's been their standout player?
Well, Jude, I think, has been the standout player. Certainly in midfield. Up front, it's a bit more fluid because Sebastian Haller was supposed to be the main guy and unfortunately had the testicular cancer scare and the surgery and now the recovery. So they're trying to find solutions up front. Youssoufa Moukoko, who's also 19, has done pretty well. And Gio Reyna has just come back, son of Claudio Reyna. He's a big player for them. When he's fully fit, I expect him to do great stuff as well if he's playing today.
Rafi, just ever so quickly, just stay there because Salzburg are 1-0 down against Chelsea. We won't cross over to talkSPORT 2 live comms, but Benny, you saw the goal. Who scored it? What happened?
Really good goal, Kovacic. Broke to him on the edge of the box. It looked like Kai Havertz tried to get the shot off it, bounced back to him, and it's a calm side foot into the far top corner. What a finish. Because he's not really renowned for his goal scoring, but as you can see, I think it's Kai Havertz who makes a nuisance of himself, gets down, and then he comes back to him. But look at this for a finish. Yeah, it's Kai Havertz. It goes back to him and then bang.
Just from the edge of the corner. Yeah, that's great. Top left
Great
hand
finish.
corner. Yeah, keeper had no chance. 1-0, Chelsea currently leading. That's live over on talkSPORT 2. Sorry about that, Rafi. Let me ask you a bit more about Jude Bellingham because, of course, he seems to be linked to every big club in and around Europe. There's a great article, actually, on him today in the Daily Telegraph. And one of the headlines is, or a subsection headline, most Champions League goals by teenagers. Top is Mbappe, no surprise there, with 13. Erling Haaland second with 10. Then you've got Patrick Kluivert third with 7, and just behind him is Jude Bellingham with 6. Where do you think he'll go? And if he does leave Dortmund, when do you think he'll leave them by? I get the feeling they're in no rush to sell him, and he's in no rush to leave.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, why would you be in a rush to sell him? You try to hold on to him as long as possible. He's still got 2.5 years left on his contract, so they're coming into that kind of position where they have to either sell or extend the contract, which they're trying to do. There's still a small chance they feel in Dortmund that they can maybe get a couple of years more out of him. He's still only 19. He can still go wherever he wants when he's 21. But at the same time, if he's continuing to play as well, if he also has a good World Cup, then I think it might be this point in the summer where his value is such that Dortmund will not be able to say no when big money comes in. There's a lot of rumours going around in Germany that Real Madrid are currently front of the queue, but I'm not sure how much attention we should pay to this because by the same token, there was a rumour going around that Liverpool are front of the queue just before that. And I think everything I've been told is that no decision has been made. He's going to wait, he's going to listen, and he's going to, like Haaland before him, really pick the club he wants to go to.
Raf, what is it about Dortmund that allows these youngsters to flourish? We've seen Jadon Sancho leave England and go to the Bundesliga. We're now seeing Jude Bellingham. What is it about that football club that turns these teenagers, these young players into superstars?
I think Dortmund occupy a very specific spot sort of in the football food chain. They're a huge club, 80,000 people, sold out every single time. They're qualified for the Champions League more or less as a given. They're competitive as far as winning the German Cup is concerned. They tend to go into the last 16, sometimes the last 8 of the Champions League. So they're a very good side, but not a side that is packed with so many players that if you are Jadon Sancho or Jamie Bino Gittins coming through, you've got no chance. And increasingly what's happened is that it's not really down to Dortmund being so clever in the scouting, because everyone knows about Bellingham and Haaland and Sancho at this point already when they go there. But the players themselves and their agents are coming to them and say, we think this is the best next step for us, because we've seen what these young players have done for you. We've seen that you don't just promise them game time and then send them on loan to some, far-flung place, and then who knows what's going to happen to them, as you never can be quite sure with a loan deal. No, you actually develop them themselves. You tend to have coaches that work with young players, and this is part of the Dortmund model. So because you know that they're so good at it, they get these players, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you are the agent or the family member of a young, promising 18 to 19-year-old, Dortmund is sort of your obvious next step if you want to develop.
Do you also think it's easier for younger players to break through into the Bundesliga? You've got more opportunities to get game time. I know that before Bellingham joined Dortmund, he was heavily linked to Man United, but my understanding is they couldn't guarantee him game time. Do you think that over in Germany, younger players, because possibly there's less pressure, you only think maybe there's 2, possibly 3 sides that can win the Bundesliga? Do you think there's more opportunities for younger players to play?
Yeah, I don't think the Man United was about game time. There were other reasons, some of them financial as well, why that deal didn't happen. But I think you're right. It is easier to get into a Dortmund side than into a Man United side, even though on paper you think, is that still the case over the last few years? But I think it's because that youthfulness of the side in the first place. On Saturday they scored 3 goals. 3 teenagers scored 3 goals. That's never happened in the Bundesliga before. So it is still a fairly recent trend, but you're not surprised that this happens at a place like Dortmund, because they play young players very early on and they trust them and they give them that sense of freedom. And also the club the squad isn't as stacked as, let's say, a Bayern Munich or Chelsea or Man United at their very best. And up until recently, don't forget, Germany was also one place where you could make 5 substitutions. So for young players, whereas in the Premier League you couldn't. For young players, that would have absolute godsend to know that you have a real big chance of getting on, even if it's just 10, 15 minutes here or there, unlike in the Premier League, which also is a little more physical and a little bit less forgiving when you're a young player, because you have bigger and possibly higher paid players on the roster who will all say, why is this 19-year-old kid playing? I'm a 25-year-old international. I should be playing. So, as I said earlier, Dortmund occupy this very specific sweet spot, if you will, where they can make these promises, they can keep them, but also they can keep them because they get the very best. They don't just get, like middling 19, 20 years old who might make it or not. They get the Erling Haalands, the Bellinghams, the Sanchos, where it's kind of almost a guarantee that they will make it. And the question is just how quickly and when. And for those players, I think they're very smart to say, I'd rather do it in the Champions League and in the Bundesliga than go on loan to QPR or Vitesse Arnhem or who knows where I might be sent by my Premier League parent club.
Rafi, listen, thanks for coming on. Before I let you go, a few years back, I presented a show on a Sunday, a very successful show. It is now with Danny Kelly, the Trans-Europe Express. And on it, I sort of adopted Union Berlin. They were my adopted European, not just German, but European football side. I love the story. I love the fact that, the fans of the club, they almost, they built the stadium. They gave blood, I think, to raise money. It's a bonkers story. They're currently top of the Bundesliga now. Just put into terms, if you can, what it would mean for a club like Union Berlin. Compare it to maybe an English club. And also, can they actually win it this season? I know it's early days. I've only played 11 games. Surely they can't go on to win it, can they?
I don't think they can, but it is an amazing story that the fact that they are in contention for the Champions League 3 years after going to the Bundesliga for the first time ever and being nearly out of business, as you said, is an incredible story. And dare I say, I think you chose really well, perhaps better than your English club. Union Berlin.
Very good. Oh, I thought you were going to. You're not comparing Union Berlin to Manchester United, surely not.
No, not yet. Give them another 20 years, and they might.
Okay. Hey, listen, Rafi, thanks so much for coming on. We can see you on YouTube. It looks like you're standing outside the headmaster's office waiting to go in. What's happening? Where are you?
I'm in the BT studios. I'm about to go onto the Champions League goal show.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, we appreciate you giving us time before you go on air. Break a leg. Thanks so much for your time.
Cheers, Rafi.
Thank you.
There you go, the wonderful Rafa Honigstein. That's an incredible story, Union Berlin being top of the Bundesliga. Just a quick word from you, Benty, about what English clubs can learn from Dortmund. You asked the question, a great question. I don't know if English clubs can learn anything because, as he said, and I put the question to him, you've got more opportunity.
I'd like to know what Dortmund's, and I didn't have a chance to ask him, what their record transfer fee is. Because I almost feel like I'm sure they're spending a bit of money, but they're getting these superstar teenagers
for next to nothing,
and then selling them on for big money. I mean, Sancho, big 70 million plus. Haaland was a snip, of course. They sold him for release clause, but still 50 million plus. Jude Bellingham's going to be massive money as well. We should see what they do.
I just wonder. We mentioned Man City, of course, as who don't want to play. And, Southampton have bought. I think it's Ramiro Lavia for £18. They got him for nothing. He's 18 years old, defensive midfielder. Gavin Bazuni, a goalkeeper, paid £12 million.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Well, he's
got
to train as their number one as well.
Yeah. He plays for the Republic of Ireland, I think I'm right in saying. He's played 12 games from this season. So maybe Southampton are trying to copy that model.
Do you know what's funny about Southampton? They've always had a good academy. They've always had good players coming through the academy.
Haven't they just?
So imagine if they'd held on to some of those.
Yeah.
talkSPORT Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.